Hello and welcome to Rain Francis Art. My name is Rain. Well, today I decided to pull out my charcoal pencils and do a celebrity portrait. Today I am drawing Dan Levy. He is a Canadian actor and comedian. If you'd like to join along, I would love it. So let's begin. This is what I'll be using for today's drawing. I have some black art paper. The brand is Arteza. I'm going to put a full supply list in the description below. It's just a regular 9 by 12 inch black art paper, and I've turned it landscape. As for medium, I'm using my charcoal pencils. I have white charcoal and I have 4 black charcoals. I have HB, 2B, 4B, and 6B. And again, whatever I end up using, I'll put in the description below. For those who don't know, H stands for hard, B stands for black, so an HB would be a hard black. And then the others, for example, this is a 6B, so a 6 black. I already have charcoal all over my fingers. The higher the number, the softer the charcoal and the darker it is. So if you want a really dark charcoal, you'd go for a 6B or an 8B. And if you want a lighter black charcoal, you'd go for an HB. But of course, white would be the lightest one that we have today. I also have some blending tools. I always have 2 containers of blending tools, one for my white charcoal and one for my black charcoal. And as I go along, again, I'll list all of that in the description below. I have wax paper that I'm going to put down so that I don't smudge my drawing or the back of my hand. And I have my stencil. Maybe hard for you to see, but this is my stencil here. Actually, hold on. I have just a scrap piece of white paper here. I'll put that underneath so that you can see the stencil better. You can see all the color underneath. But I basically drew this stencil of Dan Levy, and I'm going to leave a link in the description below as well for a PDF version of this stencil without the colors behind it, where you can download that and print it off if you'd like to do that. Now, how do I make my stencils? What I usually do when I'm doing portraits, I can't draw from memory. Even a self-portrait, I need to have a picture of myself or a mirror in front of me, because I'm not one of those like idiot savant types who can just remember a person's face, like photographic memory like that. So what I usually do is I work with a reference photo, and I download the reference photo and I desaturate it, which means I put it into my photo editing software and I take out all of the color, because my portraits I usually do in black and white. So once the color is all taken out of it, then I print it out. I take my tracing paper and I put it over, and then I look at values, and values basically mean the shades of black and white and gray, and when it comes to the grayscale, that is. And I go around and I draw out where I think the values are. So for example, if you know Dan Levy, he usually wears black glasses, so I knew that was going to be a big dark value there. So it takes me a while to get these stencils together. That's why I don't really do them as part of the video, because it takes me a good hour sometimes. So I take all that work out for you. All you have to do is download it and print it out. So after I have my stencil all ready, what I do is I transfer it onto my canvas. And I do have a video that shows you how to do that, and I'll link that in the description below and in the cards above as well. You can either use white charcoal, white chalk, white pastel. You basically turn your stencil around and you color in white chalk, white pastel, white charcoal, turn it over, and then draw over it, and you'll be transferring that image that way. I mean, that stencil that way. But what I find easier when it comes to detailed work is to get graphite transfer paper. I bought this off Amazon. I have white and I also have black for when I'm doing black charcoal on white paper. And it works like those old carbon copy papers, if you're old enough to remember those, where you're transferring things. It's really, really wonderful. I like it a lot. And I bought this a couple of years ago and I'm still on the first sheet. So that tells you how cost effective it is. So basically I open up my transfer paper and I put it underneath. I tape it all down, and then I draw out my stencil, and it transfers onto my black canvas. You may notice here I've written top on here. That's because there were some instances where I had it upside down and I went into this really detailed, you know, drawing of a stencil. I pick it up and I have a blank canvas. So I can't go wrong now, so I know which side is the top. So I'm going to transfer this. I'll just move my stuff around so we don't have too many shadows. Now I'll just let you know, this particular black art paper, the Arteza brand, it rips. Okay, so I'm gonna use a little masking tape to lightly hold my stencil down. I didn't press too hard because I know it's gonna rip my paper after. That's the only complaint I have about this paper. I believe it's a 90-pound paper. So there we go. I've got my transfer paper underneath. I know I've got the top here. And I'm going to transfer with a sharp pencil. What I will probably do is speed this part up so that, you know, you don't have to watch it real time. So away I go. I'm just going to lift it up to make sure that I didn't miss anywhere. Taking a good look, especially the little details around his eyes. I want to make sure that I didn't miss anything there. All right, so I'm going to very gently pull off the stencil. Oh, it didn't rip the paper. There's a little piece of black here. I'm very, very pleased. Usually it rips the paper. So I'm going to put all that stuff away. And now we're going to begin. I like to start with white so that I can see exactly, you know, where the lightest values are. Now, I didn't press too hard when I was doing my stencil, and I'm wondering, I'm going to look through my camera to see if you can see. It's very faint, but it's there. And I'm going to begin with his eyes because I want to make sure I get the eyes white, and it kind of gives me a starting point. All the little white details. If I get the eyes done first, I have an easier time seeing the face. Like right now it just kind of looks like, well, it's a stencil, right? That's what it looks like. So I just want to start it off to make it look like a face, and that's going to really help me out. There's a lot of white charcoal in this particular drawing here. And with white charcoal, I don't press down very hard. I just apply a couple of layers. Because depending on your art paper, you know, your canvas, I love it. I have nothing against the brand Arteza. But it's not that great quality. I noticed that because if I press too hard with my charcoal pencil, it actually prevents me from blending very well and adding second layers. So that kind of, don't like that too much about it. But so I got his eyes done. No, we are nowhere near done. But I'm going to add just white where I see the details. I'm looking at my reference photo, and I really, really suggest that if you do portrait drawings, that you really look at your reference photo. It'll help you to see the values And again, by values, I mean the shades of black, white, gray, highlights, shading, etc., etc. Right now I'm just putting in some white here in the direction that his hair is going. Just to remind me not to shade it all in with black. Here too, his eyebrows, just a few little references here, just to remind myself. There. Okay, those are the biggest white details that I'm doing right now. Maybe a little bit here in his lip, a little shine in his lip. It's hard to find a photo of Dan Levy when he's smiling. He does a lot of dramatic portraits, photos. Like when he's doing and when he's posing for photos, he does a lot of, like, you know, serious looking faces. So it's hard to find a good one of him smiling. In this one he's kind of half smiling. All right, I'm going to start with my white charcoal, and I'm going to fill in everywhere where the values are the lightest, and there's going to be a lot of white in this particular drawing. His whole forehead is white, his face, his nose, all white. He's a white boy. But I am going to use black charcoal as well to put in some shading after. I chose Dan to do today because one of my very good friends, I love her so much, I won't mention her name, has a mad crush on Dan Levy. I think a mad crush. And who knows if her husband knows that she's in love with another man. I'm just kidding, my friend, you know that. But I will keep her identity private. So this is for you, my friend. I love Dan Levy. He is such a good actor, but he's also, okay, first of all, he's the son of the unbelievably funny Eugene Levy, Canadian actor, comedian, writer. He's written so many movies, and he's so funny, Eugene Levy. And boy, does Dan take after him. He's got the Levy eyebrows, that's for sure. But Eugene Levy was in SCTV, Second City Comedy TV in Canada, along with so many other great comedians like John Candy and Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas, the Bob and Doug McKenzie guys, and Andrea Martin, hilarious woman, Catherine O'Hara, another wonderful comedian who was in SCTV. My dog was just coughing there. I mean, there's so many. I'm sure I've missed some. Joe Flaherty, hilarious. He was a funny writer. I think he was the funniest guy on the show. Very underrated. So, yeah, he's Dan Levy comes from comedy genius genes. And I first saw Dan Levy. There's a Canadian television show. Well, it's done now. I don't know how many seasons there are, and I have yet to watch the last season. Haven't found time to do that yet. I know, shame on me, to my friend. It's called Schitt's Creek. And no, I'm not cussing. The last name of the family is S-C-H-I-T-T. Schitt. And it's a hilarious comedy about a family who was entitled and spoiled and rich, and then lost everything and ended up having to go from riches to rags story and live in a motel and fend for themselves. And it's a really, really, really funny show. If you can catch it, you'll get to know Dan Levy, and his dad, Eugene, actually plays his dad in the show, and Catherine O'Hara plays the mom, and Dan Levy's sister is in it too. She plays a waitress. Chris Elliott, who was another hilarious guy. He's in it too. And there's Robin Duke. She was in the Canadian Second City television for a while, then moved on to Saturday Night Live. And there's another guy, I always forget his name. He plays a neighbor and friend who rents Eugene Levy's character some office space, and he was a writer, I think, for SCTV for the longest time. All these comedic geniuses. So yeah, that's a really, really funny show. And I also saw Dan Levy. He hosted, what was it called? The Great Canadian Bake Off? They have them sort of, I think they have them in every country, and there was, I think it probably started in the UK, and then they had the Canadian one, and he was one of the hosts of that, and it was nice to see him there too. He's very personable, very likable. I'm just going to leave a little bit of black here because I don't want to forget about his ear, and I am going to add, he's got a lot of stubble. He looks like he always has a 5 o'clock shave or 5 o'clock shadow. So I'm going to add some black for his stubble after I blend everything together. Just want to make sure that I don't cover those lines, because this is the glasses that he has, but underneath his glasses he's got a shadow right there, so I don't want to cover that with white. The thing is, if I just put white everywhere, I'm going to forget about these little details. And I was just about to say, it's the little things, which is, I watched a movie last night with Denzel Washington called The Little Things, and he played a detective. It's a really good movie if you can find it. I think it's from 2021, about a serial killer and some twists at the end that you don't see coming, and really, really good. And he kept saying to the detective that he was kind of coaching, kept saying, it's the little things, it's the little things that help you find the killer. So I'm saying it's the little things that could make you forget about putting in shading. If I shade over these two little circles, that's what I mean. That's why I like to go into detail with my stencils. Don't want to cover up his mouth either. Alright, there is white inside of his glasses, but I have two white pencils here. This one is a little sharper, so I'm going to wait and do that with the sharper one so that I don't lose all the details. I haven't done portrait drawing in a long time. I really started to get into watercolors lately. If you follow my channel, this is different for you. I did start this channel a couple of years ago, and all I did were portraits, usually with either charcoal or ink and graphite. I did real-time portraits, and I also did ink and graphite portraits in time lapse. So I think most of the, well, I don't know, I guess it's 50-50. Most of the things that I did at the beginning for the first year, some were real time and some were time lapsed. You know, when you start a YouTube channel, you have to kind of, you know, find your way, find your bearings, your bearings, figure out what you like to do. And depending on if you're making a business out of it, you've got to figure out what your audience wants to see. for this channel. It'd be nice if I could get this going as a career, but for the most part, I just enjoy doing it. So I have to stop talking for just a second. I'm going to take a look at my reference photo here. Okay. I don't want to put white where white should not be. All right. Underneath his mouth here. It almost looks like he's making a sad face with his mouth, but the reference photo, he's actually smiling. He's kind of pursing his lips up as he's giving a smile. Yeah, so for a while there, I was only doing portrait drawing, and then I switched it over to do some painting because I got into the mood of doing watercolor paintings, and I miss doing my my portraits, so I decided today to pull out the charcoals. Actually, yesterday I did a portrait drawing of Donald Sutherland. I'll show it to you here. I actually filmed the whole thing, and then something went wrong with my phone and it didn't catch most of it, so I was kind of peeved about that. But it was nice to draw anyway. I was talking about how I'm just going to put a reference line here. I was talking about how I chose to do Donald Sutherland because I recently watched the 1994 mini TV series of Salem's Lot, and Donald Sutherland played a really creepy guy in that. Really creepy, and I couldn't get him out of my mind, so I figured, okay, well, I'll draw him and hopefully I'll get that creepy character out of my nightmares. Didn't work. Still thinking about it. He kind of looks like the Terminator right now. Alright, let's finish up the white here, and then I'll get to the eyes. This whole area here is white as well. And because he's going to have, I'm going to just put another little reference line here, so I know where to separate his face and chin from the neck and the ears. Okay. Right. And another little reference line here, because this area here is going to be black, and I don't want to lose it. Because I'll put a little bit of white around it just to make sure it shows well. Okay, let me see. What am I doing here? All right, now let's see what is going on. His neck is all black. It is white, I mean. And I'm just going to fill all that in. I always start with the lightest shades and then I go to the blacks and the grays. To make gray, I usually mix white with one of my black charcoals. So I'm just taking a look at his shirt. I didn't put that part in the stencil, but all right. Grabbing that sharper tip, and I'm going to go in and put in the details of white in his eyes and around his eyes. right, let me see here. Yep, I think I'm good. I know what I'm doing here. I'm stopping because I'm looking at the reference photo. I don't want to make a mistake here and put white where there should be black or gray. I could always fix it later, but sometimes it's hard to find the details again. It looks like he's mad. I might have to fix that, because that's not what he looks like at all. I'll take a look at the end and see what happens. All right. We've got a little black here, so I'm putting another reference line, and then I'm going to go around it. Are you starting to see a face? I'm starting to see his face coming out. All right, well, that's the first layer. I'm definitely starting to see his face, and I think you can kind of see that he's kind of pursing his lips and smiling. I don't know if that's obvious or not. Now I'm just going to do the first layer of blending. I've got my blending tools here. Like I mentioned before, I have one container for white charcoal and one for black. So I have this called a blending stump. And I'm basically, where's my wax paper? I'm going to go in and very, very lightly blend the white charcoal. Very lightly. And I say very lightly because, as I mentioned before, this is not the best paper. And I want to be able to add some more white if I want to. This is very relaxing. I am seriously barely touching my page, and I'm using a circular motion. I'm going to try not to go over the area more than once or twice. When you're using a blending stump, if you notice that it's not blending very well, it's probably because you have a little too much charcoal on it. Just wipe it off on a piece of paper towel and you'll be fine. And start, or you can just turn it to the other side. But eventually you're going to have to wipe it off. A lot of people don't like to use charcoal because it's messy. The white isn't messy, but the black charcoal is quite messy. There's a lot of charcoal dust from the black charcoal. I don't notice that whatsoever with the white. So they must use something different when they're putting the white together, because it's not dusty. Alright, I'm right-handed, so I work top to bottom, left to right. It's better that way. That way I'm less likely to smudge things. I'm just being careful because I want to keep the eyeglasses, the integrity of the shape of the eyeglasses, because that's the boldest part of this drawing. The boldest part of his face too. It's the his eyeglasses, and they are black. For the details around the eyes, I'm going to use a smaller blender because I don't want to lose the details. These blending stumps are really, really good for large areas. I actually have a bigger one, you know, a thicker one that I could have used. But you use the one that feels most comfortable in your hand. And this one for me is that. And again here, finer details, I'm going to go back later with a smaller one. I don't want to lose the black areas. I think he's looking good. I'm seeing his face. I always seem to amaze myself. I don't know why that is, but you know, I look at a portrait and I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'll be able to do that. I lose my confidence, and it's crazy because if I look back at my artwork, I'm not as bad as I think I am. I don't mean bad. I'm not trying to gain sympathy here. But I mean, I lose my confidence, and I shouldn't, because you know, I'm doing a good job here, I think. And I want to teach other people how easy it is. It's so easy to be intimidated when you see a finished work of art. But I think when you see how someone does it, it makes it more accessible, you know? Like, maybe I can do that too. Yeah, of course you can. You can do it. You know, I was told by a drawing teacher that I just didn't have it in me. This was in high school. She told me I wasn't good. And that influenced me, and I never tried after that. And then I found myself, I wouldn't say bored, but kind of needing to do something different with my life back in 2016 or 2017, I can't remember. So I decided to start drawing. I started off by drawing Looney Tunes, Bugs Bunny, and I think my first drawing was, my first Looney Tunes drawing anyway, was that little penguin who cried ice cubes. His name is Playboy Penguin. And since then I've drawn, oh my gosh, thousands of Looney Tunes. And I could just draw Bugs Bunny like that now. I don't need to look. Interesting. I said before, I'm not one of those people who can draw by memory. But I guess practice makes perfect. I can draw Bugs Bunny by memory now. Tweety Bird too. Some of the others I have to look at though, because I guess I don't draw them enough. But I remember Bob Ross saying one time, you can do anything you want if you practice. If you don't think you can paint, you're wrong. All you need to do is practice. And the more you practice, the more confidence you get, the more knowledge you get, and of course the more practice you get, and you become a wonderful painter. And I truly believe if you can think it, you can do it. I'm going to have to come in with my smaller blender and do the details here too. How's that looking? I think it's looking pretty good. You know, I could always just leave it black and white without putting in any kind of gray shading, but I'm going to see. I'll see how I feel about that at the end. I've done just plain black and white drawings before like that, and they look pretty good. I did one of the Good, Bad, and the Ugly guys. I'll show you that right now. The good is Clint Eastwood in the movie. The bad is Lee Van Cleef in the movie. He's one of my favorite actors. I have a that's my screen crush, Lee Van Cleef. And then there's oh my gosh, what was his name again? Ed Wallach, I think his name was. He was the ugly. He was funny in that movie. I did all those just with black and white. I didn't add shading or anything. So now what I want to do is I want to take a smaller blender, and I think I'm going to grab this tiny little blending stump. Now, for those who don't know, a blending stump is just a blender made of paper. There's also something like this. It's called a tortillon blender. A tortillon means twist, and it doesn't have two ends. This has two ends, and it's all twisted paper, and this is really, really hard, and this works very good for detail. But because my paper is not great, I'm going to use the blending stump because it's a little softer. And I'm not pressing down hard at all. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is... Oh, I lost my voice there. Let me start that again. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is one of my favorite movies, too. There's the last scene, the standoff. I guess they call it the Mexican standoff, right? Where the three characters are, you know, pistol packing. It's very, very suspenseful. The director of all of those Clint Eastwood, they're called spaghetti westerns because they were filmed in Italy. That's what they call them, spaghetti westerns. The director's name is Sergio Leone, and he was famous for his close-ups, real close-ups of either eyes or lips or mouths or something. And he's really, really... He did something at the end of The Good, Bad, and the Ugly with that standoff, showing their eyes and their lips twitching, and it was really, really amazing. Amazing. I could talk movies all day. I'm taking a different size blending stump because I don't need it to be that tiny anymore. right, that's one eye done. Now I'll go in and do this one. I have the tiny little blending stump in my other hand. I'm just going to use that for the smaller areas here. All right, I think I can go in with this one. I've got one. It got ripped or something. I'm not going to use that side. Sorry, I'm just kind of talking to myself here. This is a little frayed at the end of this one. I don't know what happened to it, but my goal here on this channel is to show you how easy it is to create art. I'm not, you know, book learned. I'm a self-taught artist, and I taught myself how to draw and paint by practice, by watching other people, and I'll be honest with you, by copying for a while. I did pretty much all of Bob Ross's Joy of Painting shows, and I copied what he did for a long, long time. I started his painting, oil painting, in 2013. And for a while there, I didn't have the courage to try my own thing. It took me a long time to get to that point where I just stopped copying and following other people's lessons and just doing my own thing. So I hope this is a springboard for you. You start doing some charcoal drawings or some water paintings, and then you branch out and do your own thing. And start your own YouTube channel and start showing other people how you do your own thing. I'd love to see your YouTube channel. I try to follow people on YouTube for drawing and painting, but it's hard for me to keep up with visits sometimes. I'm just so busy, but I would love to see if you have a YouTube channel. Please let me know. Okay, we still have to do the eyebrows, and there was some detail here on this side of the ear that I didn't do. And his nose. I'm just taking a look and seeing if there was anywhere that I missed. All right, that's the white. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of shading. I'm going to take my 2B pencil here, and I want to add some gray areas, just so it's not stark black. So I'm just adding a little gray shading here on his forehead, and to that I'll add a little bit of the white charcoal. What I'm doing is I'm adding and then blending, adding and then blending, and I've got my blending stump for my black charcoal here. I'm just going to blend that in right away, and for each area I'm going to see how I like it. If I think it's too dark, then I'll add some more white. If I think it's too light, I'll add some more dark. I just want it to be well blended in there. There's just some areas, you know, that his forehead is white, yes, but I don't want it to be like just black and white, so I'm adding a little shading. shading and blending. And I'm starting at the top and I'm just going to work my way down. I want to do his hair. Now his hair is relatively dark. He has black hair, I believe. I've got my 6B pencil here, but I've got these here, the white charcoal and the 2B on the side here, in case I need them. And as I'm going along with the 6B here, I'm erasing my outline with the black so that it doesn't show. And again, as I go, I'm blending. And I'm grabbing my white charcoal and I'm just going to put in a little bit of highlighting here to show that he has highlights in his hair. And the 6B again, just on the outside area. And I'll blend that. I want to leave those white marks more or less unblended though. Okay, that's that side of his hair. On this side it's pretty dark. I don't want to use the 6B. I realized here that the 6B was probably too dark, so I'm going to use the 4B. And I'm just going in and filling in 4B here. Not everywhere, because I mentioned before, black charcoal is very, very dusty. And you can use that dust and bring it to another area of your canvas. I'm erasing my outline as well with the 4B here. And I'm going around those white marks that I put in. I'm going to be blending the whole thing and then adding more shading, more highlighting after, that is. So these will probably turn gray, but that's okay. That's kind of, I want a little bit of depth there. I don't want to get any black around the hairline inside on his forehead. So I'm just going to be real careful here as I'm blending. There we go. And you know, if you wanted to, you could just leave it black. You didn't have to add, or you don't have to add the 4B like I did, but I feel it's an unfinished painting or drawing if I don't add black, even though it's a black canvas. I think it makes a difference. Alright, so now I'm going to take my white charcoal again and just add some highlighting to his hair. And he has some coming out of his temple here. It's not as highlighted here actually. I'm looking at the reference photo, so I'm going to erase some of that, the black. Okay, I'm fine with that. Actually, I'm going to blend that in just slightly. Okay, so I'm good with that. Now I'm going to work on his eyebrows. Or you know what? First thing I'm going to do is work on his glasses. His glasses are the darkest part of this drawing. I just have to shift my chair here. There we go. So I'm going to go and outline his glasses and fill that all in with 6B, my darkest charcoal. And I'm going to be really careful not to erase the areas that I have in white here. Okay, I'm taking a look here. All of these areas that are black around his eye and his glasses, I am going to fill in with 6B. Because for me, the most prominent focal points of drawings like this are the eyes, for me, when I'm doing portraits. Unless, you know, you're drawing Mick Jagger and clearly his lips are the, the focal point of everything. Those big lips he's got. Steven Tyler, too, from Aerosmith. He's got those huge lips. That would be the focal point of those drawings. But for the most part, I think the eyes are the focal points. So I want to make those really, really, really dark. I don't know if you can see the difference between this black and the actual canvas. It is quite a bit darker. I'm going to outline this side here of his glasses. And he's got those designer glasses, I think, so that's why it looks like this. There are some white areas in the glasses. Right. I want a nice clean edge here. See, when I fill in the black, it really makes the white stand out quite a bit. All right, I'm just gonna start blending that, okay? And what am I gonna use? Yeah, I'll use my blending stump, but I'm gonna take a smaller blending stump for the glasses. And I'm going extremely lightly because, as I mentioned before, black charcoal creates a lot of dust. And if you have pets or kids around when you're doing this, don't just go and, you know, blow all the charcoal off because, you know, it's not good for their little lungs. It's not good for our lungs, but, you know, it's not good for their little lungs. So I have a little barrier on the edge of my desk here that kind of catches all the charcoal dust. So if I give this a little huff and puff, I know it's not going to go anywhere near my dogs and my cat. So just be careful of that. All right, let me take a look here. Now I need a smaller blending stump, or maybe I'll have to take my one of my little tortillon blenders. Where is the little one? Here's a little one. For the area around his, I call it the sparkle in the eye. Very nice. I'm going to take my 4B. He's got a little shadow underneath his glasses, but I didn't want it to be the same dark color as the glasses, so I'm going to add a little white there. And wipe off my blending stump here. I'll use this side. See, I already have charcoal all over me. Oh well. See, that sort of addition of the white made it a little bit of a different shade, a different value, so that it's not all kind of melting into one kind of black, you know. Now for his ear, I should probably work on his eyebrows actually. His eyebrows are going to be challenging for me, I think, but we'll see. I'm using my HB, that's my lightest color, or my lightest shade of black. And I'm just filling in above the glasses here where his eyebrow is, where his eyebrows are. And I'm coloring over the white. I'm glad I did that because that shows me the difference between the glasses area and his eyebrows, those Levy eyebrows. All right, I'm going to take my white and make tiny little spots. So that we know it's his eyebrows. And I am going to blend this because it kind of looks funny the way it is right now. I'll wipe off my my blending stump there. Just give it a very light blend. There we go. I might add a little more white there. I'll take a look at it after and see what I think about that. But for now, I'm going to leave it. So let's see. I'm going to take the 4B for his ear. And for these sort of spots on his face, that's his nostril. So I want that to be dark. This area here too. It's part of his nose and his nostril. And a little shading under his nose and his face here. And I'm going to add a little bit of white. Not to the nostril, but to the ear area. This little spot here. Maybe a little over here. And we'll blend that together. Now I'm nowhere near finished blending, just so you know, because I want to blend, you know, some of these areas into the white. All right, that gives it a little bit of a different shade. Now for his lips, I'm going to grab the 6B. I see something and I kind of want to fix it. There's a little spot here. It dips more. I'm going to outline his mouth a little bit, and I'm looking at his mouth to see, why does it look like he's frowning instead of smiling? I want it to look like he's smiling, because he is. Maybe this area here. Grab my 6B. I'm going to play around a little bit to see if I can make it look like he's smiling. Maybe that, I don't know. I'm not going to play with fire. I'm just going to blend all that in there and see what happens. And I'll take my 4B and just fill in his mouth. That doesn't look good there. I'm going to take that out. Let me blend that. Okay, I think his eyebrows need to be a little bigger. They're a little too short under there. So I'm going to take the 6B and I'm going to make it look like eyebrows instead of just like Groucho Marx eyebrows, where they just kind of, they look like he painted them on. Now we're going to blend that a little bit so it's not as, so it doesn't look so, you know, obvious there. Alright, I'm going to sit with that for a while and see if I like it. I still do not like the mouth, but I'll work on that later. So I'm going to work on this ear here. I'm going to grab my 4B again and just fill in the areas that are supposed to be black. Alright, and the side of his face as well, just a little bit. And there was this area here. And I'm going to work on his beard. He's got whiskers, so let's just start with the basics. And I'll blend all of that in. All right, what I'm going to do now is start to blend a little more. I've got just a cotton swab here, and anywhere that the white connects to the dark, I'm going to kind of blend, except for around the glasses. I want to keep that really, really well outlined, okay? But all these little spots here, even the nose, which is a little lopsided, and I'm going to fix that. It's not a perfect circle. It's kind of like a teardrop. That's better. I'll just blend around that. If you're using cotton swabs to blend, you have to turn them once in a while, because these the cotton will start to wear down, and then you'll be at this part here, you know, the wood part, and you might scrape your canvas, and you don't want to do that. So be careful with the cotton swabs. I want to be careful around his mouth. And I'm just adding some detail as I go along. Just want to make sure I have that spot obvious there. There we go. Now by doing this, I'm creating another value, because it was all that color before, right? That dark black. And as I'm blending right now, the white is going into the black area and vice versa. So it's creating like a lighter and darker gray value. I'm going to go in and fix the nose. I'm just going to lightly go over the mouth, very lightly. That's it. I don't want to touch the mouth again. Now I'm going to grab my 4B, and I can still kind of see that it looks like a circle, that nose, that nostril. So I'm going to make it into more of a teardrop. There we go. And this I want to do like this. And I'll take some white and go around that. It just shapes it better. Where's my 4B? Here we go. Should be a little lower, I think. That's better. And okay, take another cotton swab, and I'm very gently blending, very gently. Okay, I think it looks like he's smiling now. So now what I need to do is work on his beard and his 5 o'clock shadow. I've got my 4B, and I'm going to see how that looks, okay? So he's got quite a heavy beard, or not beard, it's stubble, right? And stubble is just dots. Now I'm just watching here. I want to see if I can do this with the 6B without breaking it. Okay, doesn't make a difference, so I'm going to use the 4B because the 4B is a little less soft than the 6B, and I don't want to break my 6B pencil because it's very difficult to sharpen. It breaks in the sharpener. So that's what I'm doing. Little stubble all over where his mustache is. Comes all the way under his nose here. And I'm looking at the reference photo. All this here is stubble too. But it sort of falls into complete black there, you know, because it's very dark. But what I could do, I'm going to see how this looks, is put some white dots in there. Maybe some white dots here too. And this is all stubble down here too. Let me put some white dots in here. Right. This isn't easy on the arm, I have to tell you. Not easy. I'm going to go a little slower. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do might seem a little crazy, but I'm actually going to blend and then add more. There are some areas that I just want to blend better, like here. And here. because these aren't shadows. This is all part of his stubble. Like this area here is a shadow, so I don't mind it being a little more like it looks like a line, you know? But this area here, that's all of his stubble. So it's nice to soften it up a little. And I've been ignoring his shirt here. That's not the focal point anyway, but there we go. I think that's looking pretty darn good. Okay, let me see, what can I do now? I'm going to take the 4B again, and I'm going to add a little more stubble, because he does have quite a bit of it. And I might blend it in again. We'll see. If you're following along with this, I would love to see your work. I know you can't really... I've set up my YouTube comments so that you can't put links in there. If you put links in the YouTube comments, usually it doesn't, the comment won't go through, or it'll be held for review, and if I don't notice it, it might just never be published. But if you look in the About section of this channel, you'll see my my Instagram account, and if you have an Instagram account or even a blog, you can link that in. Send me the link on Instagram. I'd love to see it. All right, I'm going to step away from this for a moment, and I'll be right back. All right, I see some things that I want to fix a little bit. Some of these little shadows here, I want to blend them a little better. It's hard for me as I'm going along to see what I'm doing because my lights are so bright here. I'm actually standing up and I'm looking through my camera lens to do this. All right, where's my wax paper? Same thing here. Just blending it a little better. Okay. Because that's just a shadow there. All right. And here too, a little, want to blend it a little better. Okay, let's take a look. Probably over here too. Be careful. I want to be careful around those glasses though. Alright. So if you notice here, having blended this area, it used to be as dark as here, but now it's not as dark, so it's a paler shade of gray. Is that a song? Is that the song from Ghost? A paler shade, a lighter shade, I don't know. But whatever that song is, I love it. Okay. Yep. A little more here. More blending here. You see how the cotton swab just starts to fray itself out. And I'm going to go over all of the stubble. I may add some more white to his face too. All right, let me see. How's he looking here? There's something here that's bugging me. The glasses. There. I want the glasses to be really, really pronounced. All right. This area here, that's part glasses and part shadow. So let me try to fix that. Okay. And the shadow part, I'm going to take my little blending stump here. All right. Well, I've decided I want to add a little more white. Just a little more. And I'm going to blend all of that in. All right, and I want to add a little more to his nose to make sort of a highlight. And a little under his mouth here for a highlight. Maybe along his cheek. And this area here is bugging me, so I'm going to fix that up. I don't want him to look dirty. Okay, and I'm just going to use, actually, with white charcoal, the cotton swabs don't work very well with just white, so I'm going to use the blending stump. If you're mixing black and white together, or if you're just blending black, it works really well with the cotton swab, but the white charcoal doesn't like it very much. All right, and a little highlight here on his cheek. I'm just going to go around his glasses there. I didn't blend that. I'm whispering again, sorry about that. I tend to do that. All right, and a little under his lip. I think he looks like he's smiling. Let me get my wax paper here. All right. And I'm going to fix this thing here. I think I've got to put a little darker area there just for his nostril. I'm going to leave that as is and put a little more white up here. I want his nose to be a little more highlighted. right. On second thought, I don't like that dark area. I'm just going to leave it as is. Okay, what else can I do here for Mr. Dan Levy? I can blend his ears a little better. And his neck area. All right, I'm just going to do some finishing touches. I have my 6B charcoal stick here. Time to get down and dirty with Dan. Look at how dirty this is. I'm just going to go around with my stick charcoal around the entire drawing. It's a large area, so I'm not using my pencil for this. And then I'm going to blend everything. Sorry for my arm. I don't know if this makes a difference for you watching, but it makes a difference for me that what I'm seeing right in front of me. Okay, so I've got this, look at my hands, I've got this round paintbrush that I'm just using to blend. This is a dollar store paintbrush. There's a lot of dust, lots and lots of dust. But you can take that dust with the brush and sort of brush it all over your page, all over your canvas, and cover different areas with just that dust. I'm just going to be careful around the edges here. I want to do something with that ear. Not liking it. You can see the dust forming, eh? Just move that off his face. Give that a little huff and puff, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my blending stick. I have to fix something here. I don't have to worry about getting dirty now. His ear is just a little too outlined for my liking. I have to blend that a little better. I'm going to take my larger blending stump if I can find it. Here we go. And I'm going around the entire outline of his head. Sorry about my arm. All right. I think I'm done. I think I'm very happy with this. I'm just going to sign it. Take ownership of this. You should always sign your work. This was a lot of fun, my friends. What do you think? Do you know Dan Levy? Do you think it looks like him? I think it looks like him. I'm pretty happy with this today. If you enjoyed this, my friends, don't forget to like and subscribe, and please leave me a comment. I do love to read your comments, and I always reply to them. If you have any requests, please leave them in the comments too. I would love to draw something for you. I really enjoyed myself today. Thanks again for watching, my friends. I'll see you next time. Bye.